What we are forgetting in this discussion is that this planet, it's not only belongs to humans, right? And the cycle of life does not only depend on the survival of humans. And something that we also forget is that the human is also an animal. But we have given this superior position to humans, and we have forgotten that when people are trying to develop, when people are trying to reach the skies, when people are trying to fulfill their needs and requirements, their day-to-day luxuries, then they have forgotten about animals, what they actually mean to this planet. And that is why it's important to discuss about them, because if there are no animals in this planet, we will not be able to survive. That is the truth, and that is the thing that we have to accept. From the bee to the whales to the elephants, every species play an important role, and it is connected with what humans are as well. When you get into the movement, when you see what's happening to animals because of how people are treating them, then you kind of tend to notice, right? um, if a person who eats meat can go and see what's happening in a farm, in a slaughterhouse, I'm pretty sure that will question each and everything that they believe. You know, the struggle those animals have to go through from the
You-
beginning. So I'm really fortunate that my country's cooking is based on coconut milk, right? All of our
Mhm, mhm.
curries are cooked in coconut oil, coconut milk. But this could not be the same for Indians because their base is ghee. So for them to become vegan will be more challenging than it is for me. And and it has to be, yeah, like, you know, for, you find alternatives, you figure it out, you speak to the people who are there, because there are so many people that are willing to help you when you, if you really want to make a change. I've seen thousands of Instagram pages that only cook vegan meals. So, like, where it was not there 10 years ago, but now
Okay.
there are meals that we can really cook. They were working on a paper on developing devices that can actually let us know what animals are thinking. So this is completely AI doing something for animals. And imagine we can understand, like literally understand what animals are thinking, what the
Mhm.
chimpanzees in the zoo is thinking, what a whale or a dolphin in an aquarium is thinking. These things are going to change the future, and of course it's going to change the future for animals as well.
How are you, Dulki? Good to see you.
Yes, very nice to see you as well. I am doing well. I'm just recovering from a bit of a cold I got when I was in Vietnam, but all's good.
Yeah. All right. That's good.
Before we begin, I want to know whether there are any rules or things that I should watch out for.
Yeah. I don't think there's any rules. There's a bunch of questions that I kind of curated based on your background, and I think it's worth mentioning that I had a conversation with Varnika Singh about a month ago, month and a half ago. I'm working on producing. I'm working on releasing it, but we covered quite a bit of ground as far as India is concerned. You know, animal rights in India and the lack of infrastructure or resources or planning or just the sheer like the magnitude of the problem and how some of these things, I mean, requires a lot of top down kind of fixing the structure, fixing
Yeah.
just the paradigms of various things, as well as bottom up, like people understanding that animals are sentient and things along those lines. So I definitely don't want to duplicate that with you, Dulki, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
By the way, is my pronunciation of your name okay? Dulki is correct?
Yes, yes, Dulki.
Okay. Okay. Uh, so I don't want to rehash that stuff because I feel like for my audience, and I'm pretty sure you're on the same page with her on a lot of these things. At least my assumption is that, all of these things that in South Asia, the challenges that we face with animal rights and animal justice and so forth, it's kind of a well-known thing. And you guys are spearheading some of that right now. Like you're spearheading, bringing awareness, changing people's attitudes, or at least changing the law, the justice system, and so on. So, if you don't mind, I have like a sort of a pared down set of questions to you. You as a lawyer, as I understand, and you're also a world animal justice lawyer, as I understand. So, this is an honor to be with you, Dulki, here.
I actually joined Watch World Animal Justice a couple of months ago, so I hope I will be able to answer your questions. But
Okay.
yeah, let's see.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Well, the first question, I think, if you don't mind me asking this question, like, let me play devil's advocate for a minute. Like, why do we have to care about animal rights? Why? I mean, isn't this a luxury belief?
Yes. So, yeah, this is one of the challenges that we encounter, when we speak about animal rights and protecting animals. I myself have come across many situations where people will be like, okay, there are people who actually go through so much of trouble, and still you're speaking about animals and trying to represent their rights. But the thing is, what we are forgetting in this discussion is that this planet, it's not only belongs to humans, right? And the cycle of life does not only depend on the survival of humans. And something that we also forget is that the human is also an animal. But we have given this superior position to humans, and we have forgotten that when people are trying to develop, when people are trying to reach the skies, when people are trying to fulfill their needs and requirements, their day-to-day luxuries, then they have forgotten about animals, what they actually mean to this planet. And that is why it's important to discuss about them, because if there are no animals in this planet, we will not be able to survive. That is the truth, and that is the thing that we have to accept. From the bee to the whales to the elephants, every species play an important role, and it is connected with what humans are as well. So yeah, when a section is fighting for human rights, another section is fighting for animals, and that is what we believe in. And then, if that is the case, then why not?
But there's a lot of I've heard speakers in public say things like animals are the dominion of human beings, right? Like I believe, if I'm not, this is a religious belief that
Mhm.
animals are the dominion of humans, and so we have dominion over them, we have dominion over this planet. And then the other aspect is that when I was growing up in India, when I was, I mean, from when I was a little kid to when I was, let's say, my early 20s and so forth, we had dogs growing up. It was never brought to my attention that animals were sort of on some kind of equal plane to humans. And I grew up in a middle class household in South India, in a kind of a middle class privileged household. So people have, my parents were educated and so on. You would expect at least the people whose needs have been met to some degree to have these beliefs, right? Like animals, these enlightened beliefs, I should say. Animals are sentient, animals can experience pain and suffering and so on. But it was almost like it was normalized to think of animals as this sort of other entity which barely has any consciousness, and they're meant for our use, and that's about it. And so when you have these kind of strong beliefs pervade society, um, I always struggle to kind of make the argument or push back to say, other than the fact that we have research to prove that animals are sentient, they have emotions, demonstrably they have sentience, they have these range of emotions, they can experience this range of pain and so on. um, how do you like tackle something like that when somebody comes at it from a religious angle or a societal angle or just that's just the belief system in a given society. Um, it is like, from your perspective, I'm looking at your perspective here. You're educated in this space, right? Like you went to school, you learned about these things, but can you, I mean, how, I don't know. I don't know what the question I'm asking here. Like, how do you contend with that? How do you contend with that sort of like strong underpinnings of what's been told to you since birth?
Yeah, so this is exactly why there needs to be a change, right? I mean, when I started back in 2016, I never knew that there was a field of animal law. Um, I was struggling when I was trying to find out reading materials to complete my master's thesis. And yeah, one of the major challenges that I've encountered is I am from a background of a Buddhist family, so I am a Buddhist. So we have had very compassionate attitude towards animals. So I am in one way happy about that. But at the same time, I was not a vegetarian at that time. But when you get into the movement, when you see what's happening to animals because of how people are treating them, then you kind of tend to notice, right? um, if a person who eats meat can go and see what's happening in a farm, in a slaughterhouse, I'm pretty sure that will question each and everything that they believe. You know, the struggle those animals have to go through from the beginning.
Wait, you really think so? I've been to butcheries in Bangalore where people are just straight up holding 3, 4 chickens and bloody aprons and just kind of malhandling them. It doesn't seem like there's any sense of empathy there, right? You're so desensitized to their pain.
Yeah. So I mean, I it's really unfortunate that it just still did not encourage you, but I have met people that
Okay.
have actually seen that, and then they have
Okay.
had it like, okay, that's really enough. I have very close friends who have experienced the same thing, and that has triggered them to become vegetarians and eventually vegans, which is like the um, very strong concept of vegetarianism.
Hmm.
I would say, but yeah, it is indeed difficult to deal with these cultures and traditions and religious conceptions that we have grown up with. For example, we had this moot court competition that I organized together with my other friends and colleagues. It's called the World Moot on International Law and Animal Rights. It was held at Nalsar, Hyderabad in India back in August. And there we encountered few students who wanted to know how to become vegan without disrespecting their religious beliefs. That was really interesting. I mean, they are compassionate, they feel that they need to change, but at the same time they are wondering how to do this. So that I think what we want is that exact questioning of, okay, there is something wrong happening, what can I do about it? It starts with you only. Then
Hmm.
you can think, okay, how am I going to convince my friend to become a vegetarian? How am I going to convince my family to stop going to the zoo or going to a circus? So it starts with you only. The change comes within you. As long as you're ready to accept that animals play a part and they are going through so much of suffering because of humans, in human interference, I would say, and I have to do something about it, then that is the moment that you can contribute to this movement. Back when I started in 2016, this was not the movement that I joined, right? I am surprised when I look back and how it was before, literally 8 years ago, and how far we have come. I think there are so many NGOs in every country now fighting for not only one category of animals fighting for farm animals, fighting for zoo animals, fighting for strays. There's everywhere there's something. That's what we need, and that's
Mm.
how we can change. And I have friends who are followers of Muslim Islam, but still they are vegan. And for me,
Oh, really?
the that is it,
The
right?
pinnacle.
Yes, that is it. And that is what I say. Okay, if we are Buddhist, then should be definitely something that we can do, because my friends are doing something even though they are Muslim. So that there is always an option. And look how much of um, disaster is causing because of these factory farms, right? Our planet is now trying to survive against these impacts of climate change. And factory farms, industrial factory farming, is one of the reasons that release methane gas or greenhouse gases to our atmosphere. And all of this, the forests that are being cut, the water that have been used in all these farms, they are only going so that we can have in our
Hmm.
dinner. So as long as people are willing to talk about it, there could be some sections who take it really personal and become aggressive in it. But I think um, I'm hopeful about our generation. I'm more hopeful about future generation. Our those who are going to be, our children and their children, because they see things. I recently read an article that in Germany there are more than there's between 80 to 20% students who are vegan only in
Oh,
Berlin.
really?
In Berlin.
Wow.
So see how the movement is becoming, and there is the percentage of vegetarian is increasing as well. So these things, everything that you can do is going to matter. And yeah, as you said, it might be a bit difficult to change the mindsets of, let's say, the people who are age of my parents or my grandparents.
Yeah.
But definitely we are questioning things, we are looking at things more in a more I would say in a sense that is more friendlier and more animal friendly, actually. And this is going to continue to my children, and then of course my grandchildren, and we are going to be the generation that breaks the chain.
Yeah. By the way, just to be clear, when I said the pinnacle, when Islamic people become vegans, it's the pinnacle. I don't mean that in any kind of condescending or bigoted way. I meant that predominantly meat is a part of their diet, right? Which
Yes.
I mean, across the world. I want to come
Yes.
back to 2016. What were you doing prior to 2016, and what brought you into this whole field that you're in right now?
Yes, so I just had completed my LLB, that is Bachelor in Laws, and I had just got my attorneys as an attorney at law. So we take this oath in front of the Supreme Court. So all of that. And after that, I got selected to my master's, which I completed at the University of Colombo. And for my thesis, I selected I wanted to discuss about how animal protection laws in Sri Lanka were inadequate. And from that I got to know about, okay, there's this thing called animal welfare, there's this thing called animal rights. And then I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I think every person who loves animal and who's into this movement will start with like, okay, I love animals, and that's why in this field. So I am one of those people as well. I love animals. Right now I have
Okay.
20 dogs at home. I have one
Holy
cat,
cow!
one
Really?
squirrel. Yeah.
Good on you. Good on you. Yeah.
So and when you just get into it, it's really difficult to go back. You just keep on getting involved with more things. So it started with me doing just a master's thesis, and then I started fostering dogs, and then uh you know studying more. I did my MPhil from the same area where I discussed how the proposed animal welfare bill in Sri Lanka can be further improved. So it was a step towards future. And then I got selected to do a master's at the Lewis and Clark Law School as well. That was my first formal education in this field. And I was really struggling to, understand these concepts, identify why this is needed, what is different from this type of animal to this type. So everything just fell into place when I started doing my master's at the Lewis and Clark, and I'm really grateful for the full scholarship that I was granted.
Like, what did you learn at Lewis and Clark that you, I guess, didn't learn in your other masters and your training up to that point?
Yeah, so for my master's, both my LLM and MPhil thesis, this was just a thesis, right? I was discussing with my supervisor. I had the freedom to do my research on whatever area I like, discuss what I want to discuss. So when you're writing a thesis, you have this freedom. But when you are studying, then you go into the fundamentals, then you go into the theories and how it started, what it has become now, how it's going to be in the future. So all of that, I would say, is the formal education on animal law that I was lacking. And yeah, even though when you start reading a book, I found it very difficult to understand what is going on in this book, what are they talking about. But then when you do have that formal education, then yeah, you figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything like an aha moment, like which you were never exposed to being a South Asian person, going to America, for example, for your studies? Was there like, I'll give you a quick example.
I have to
You know,
disturb you, sorry. So this
sure,
was
sorry, go ahead.
online. This is online. It is an
Okay, okay,
online match. Yeah.
okay. Well, I'm sure you were exposed to like Western philosophies on animals and animal rights and so forth, right? And so I guess my
Yes.
question is sort of through there. When I moved to America, I noticed very readily the way animals, like for example, let me just isolate to dogs or cats. We would gender them when we're calling he or she, and that was never a thing in India growing up, right? It was always an it. It was an object,
Yes.
and it was
Yes.
this kind of an eye-opening thing that people look at the animal sort of as an equal almost.
Yes. Um, I mean, yeah, you do feel surprised to see that kind of thing. I just remember this article that I completed. There was this guidelines made for media persons on how they can um, encourage animal protection in their respective countries, where they were actually putting on guidelines for media speakers to use he, him, they instead of it.
It.
And yeah, so it is a thing, and it definitely is going to make a difference. And I guess you just have to keep on using what you have learned in those countries. And obviously there was a lot for me to learn from Lewis and Clark, and also from the European animal law conferences that I attended. So getting into that network was really amazing. I mean, even though e- I mean, it is kind of, you get to know, okay, there's so much I can do except for feeding dogs, except for fostering and finding them homes. There is so much I can do. And this can be challenging right now, but it will definitely make a difference for the future. For example, if we can write a research article which discuss about how animal protection laws in Sri Lanka can be further developed, then it might not be successful in the near future. But of course, I think in 50 years, in 100 years, people might really consider. And what we can do is to, kind of speed it up. Talk to the people who are drafting the laws, talk to the experts and get their attention and promote awareness in whatever way we can. So yeah, that is what we can do.
Yeah. I was I was going to cover this topic much later in the conversation, but I think it's appropriate in a sense. When you're talking about changing people's attitudes and so forth, me being trained in the technology tech space, I'm currently doing a lot of AI work, and I
Mhm.
dug up a lot of research that's been done in the last 2 years only, since 2022 till now, in the field of AI, where they're able to map so many of these range of emotions, like 13 separate emotions within pigs, for example. They're able to train these facial expressions, and they're able to tell when an animal is in distress, in happiness, is it playful, is it joyful, is it experiencing pain, and so on. And there's like tons of research done, and people might ask, how do you know an animal is experiencing some kind of like anxiety, for example? How would you like ground that belief? And what they did is, this is pretty interesting, I thought. They When the older pigs chase the younger pigs, which is kind of a bullying tactic they do, the younger pigs, their eyes change, their tails, the characteristics of their body change completely, and they map that on to other times when they're feeling pain or distress or whatever. So this field is kind of like quite advancing quite rapidly, and I use it for my work a lot, and I'm so pumped about it. This is not just me talking about AI just as kind of like this amazing thing. This is fundamentally, it's able to cover all these edge cases, these gray areas where we never had data before. Now it's able to kind of 24/7 monitor an animal's welfare. So I wanted to know what your thoughts are. Do you see? I know this is kind of jumping far ahead. Do you see that as a real field that will help this space and speeding up certain things?
Yes. A side note: pigs are more intelligent than dogs.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I
then
learned that a long
on
time
what
ago. I
you
gave up eating pork as much as I could. Yeah, yeah.
yes. So, on the question you asked, yes, I once attended a conference where it was all about AI and animals. And one of the topics that they discussed, they were working on a paper on developing devices that can actually let us know what animals are thinking. So this is completely AI doing something for animals. And imagine we can understand, like literally understand what animals are thinking, what
Hmm.
the chimpanzees in the zoo is thinking, what a whale or a dolphin in an aquarium is thinking. These things are going to change the future, and of course it's going to change the future for animals as well. And I have also seen that there are robots that have been developed to replicate certain animals. I think the first project was on a dolphin. They had prepared an exact replica, a
Oh, wow.
robo of a dolphin. Yes, and now they are, encouraging people to, not people, I would say, but zoos and other places that keep animals in captive, to use such technologies, where we do not really separate an animal from their habitat, from their community, from their space, and bring them to in the middle of a city and put them in a cage, and where people are asked to like go and see and pay money for that. So this is exactly what we need. And that is not about it actually. I'm sure you must have heard about lab grown meat. So that is
Hmm.
also AI doing their thing. So it's really, this field is such that whoever is passionate about it can still do what they love and then contribute to the field, to save animals as well. It could be a person who's doing lab, like a person who's interested in science and doing lab related things, they can do something for animals. And then people who are interested in AI, they can also do something. People who are interested in law, we can also do something. So it's such a vast field. I've met so I attended to the Oxford Summer School last year, and that was a feel like it was a festive kind of a thing. Like all the people from different professions getting together in one space and then discussing how they can contribute to animal protection. That was amazing.
By the way, your video is kind of like choppy, Dulki. I don't know why
Okay.
that happened all of a sudden. Maybe a
Is,
Wi-Fi or
yeah. Is it okay or is it still the same?
let's see. It's I mean, I can see a lot of still images, so I didn't want to disturb what you were saying.
Okay.
Well, I think we'll keep going.
Oh,
If the video comes out that way, it comes out that way. So, what was this thing in Oxford? Like, what was the event about?
So every year, Oxford, University of Oxford, there is the Oxford Center for Animal Ethics that organizes a summer school where all the profession of people with working in different professions, they get together. I think
Okay.
last year there were around 100 to 200 people. I couldn't attend this year, but I can share the links with you. And
Okay.
what's different is, most of the conferences that I have attended until then, they focused only on people who are working on legal research. But this was like everyone getting together and everyone talking about what they can do. And it was not only a lawyer or a scientist. It was people who are doing advertising and marketing, and
Mm,
how an advertisement can be used to um, encourage people to become vegan. So this kind of marketing, that's really powerful. So yeah, that was about it. And we have kind of a selection of abstract where there are themes for each year for this summer school. And last year it was animals and media, and I think this year it was animals and people who have really done something, like people who have gone to the history for doing things for animals. So yeah.
okay. Cool. You talked about like animal diplomacy, and I was reading up on this
Mhm.
whole panda diplomacy that China um, had done. Can you talk to about that? Like, I'm really curious. It sounds like a really like just intuitively, it sounds like a wonderful idea on saving certain endangered species. Um, can we just scale this up across the planet? Because we can. I mean, this sounds like we can get this done. I guess can you talk through the mechanics of what this is and how it promotes saving certain endangered species as well as cooperation between countries, like diplomacy and things like that?
Yes. So it is not cheap. It's very, very expensive.
Why is it
Basically,
expensive?
because it's given as a loan. The pandas are given as a loan. So it's whatever the agreement is signed between the countries, it's going to be a loan. And my whole point of doing that research was, um, uh, right now there is this different category of animals called diplomatic animals. They are not defined anywhere, but they are those who are sent from one country to another to develop international relationships.
Can I stop you for a second? I'm wondering
Yeah.
if we get out of the meeting and try to come back in, if it'll reset this, because
Yeah.
the choppiness is really kind of distracting me.
Oh,
I want to try and pay attention to what you're saying.
sure, sure, sure.
Okay,
I'll try
I'll see
again.
you right back. All right.
Yeah.
Ah,
It,
that looks a little better. That looks better.
okay.
All right, let's keep going.
Okay. Yes. The whole point of my article was discussing how these I'm not sure how far you heard. Should I
Yeah, no,
start from the beginning?
I followed till like the point where you were saying it's a kind of an expensive affair.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
So
yeah, please go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, so the reason why I wanted to write this article was I wanted to show panda diplomacy as a mechanism to protect other diplomatic animals, especially those who are sent from one country to another to develop international relationships. So one famous example is Kavan. I don't know whether you have heard of him, but he was sent from Sri Lanka to Pakistan, and he was staying at the Islamabad Zoo since 1985. And then his partner elephant, Saheli, passed away. And after that, he went into depression. So when such an animal has been sent from one country to the other, the sending country has no responsibility or duty whatsoever on that animal that has already been sent, right? And then if there are no proper animal protection laws in that country, there's no guarantee that this animal is well cared for. So
Hmm.
I was discussing that, okay, panda diplomacy is not like that. It takes responsibility for the pandas that have been sent, and most importantly, they are given for a 5-year loan. So once it's done, once the 5 years is over, they have to go back to China. And same goes with the offspring that are born in other countries. I think after 1 year, I'm sorry, I don't recall the exact time, but after a certain period, they have to be sent back to China, where they are in, among their species, where they can learn their familiar um, environment. So I think that is very important. The fact that, China's responsible continues, their responsibility continues to those pandas even though they are sent. And I think that is something that we can learn from China, because Sri Lanka keeps on sending animals to other countries as diplomatic animals. But
Oh, okay. Why does it promote diplomacy? What's the mechanics behind that?
so it's a practice that have happened since the times that China was ruled by emperors. It's not
Okay.
something that's new, but it's basically, we are okay. Look, we are sending you this animal because we want to stay friends with you, and we want to have good relationship with you, and that's the whole concept behind it. But yeah, what happens to the animal? Who cares?
Yeah, but the other, like, if the animals arrive in your country, is it just a gesture of goodwill from the other country, and then it just sort of naturally promotes a certain sense of warmth between the two countries? Is that what promotes this kind of this better relations?
Yes, yes. But I'm saying that, so in this, among this whole thing, again, animals are treated as property. Like, okay, they can select, okay, this animal goes to, yeah, let's say Thailand, this elephant goes to Pakistan, this elephant goes to India, so they can just treat them like that and then send them to those countries, and after that the responsibility is done. But I'm saying that no, the responsibility has to continue. If that animal is not treated well in those countries, then the sending countries should have the authority to interfere and tell, okay, this is not done, you're not treating our elephant well, and he's lonely, he's not getting enough food, he's not getting enough veterinary care, so please do something about it. That kind of equation should be there. That's what I'm arguing in that paper.
Okay.
And that is
Uh,
exactly what happens in panda diplomacy. It's a agreement that, there are certain provisions that both countries have to agree, and you cannot just let go of it once you have sent the animal.
mhm. Okay. You spoke about Buddhism earlier, Dulki. What about Buddhism promotes more compassion for animals?
Well, that's a long topic. There's a lot we can discuss on this,
Well, can you
but
summarize it really quick? I'm really curious about the whole thing because I often hear this kind of narrative that Buddhism is more aligned with peaceful values and so on. And these things sort of make sense to me that animals are treated a little better in Buddhist countries. Maybe they are. I don't have statistics for that. But I just wanted to know, like a high level view, are there things that your parents teach you at a young age? Or, if you go to like a Buddhist monastery, is there elements of teachings, or is it just the environment? Is it the people you meet? That there's this sense of like peacefulness and also treating your fellow beings, not just humans, fellow beings with a little more compassion.
yeah, definitely. So, for example, one of our five religious sermons, which is like the most important for Buddhists, is not killing animals. So that's basically like a prohibition. If you kill animals, that's gonna earn you sins. And I think for our religious monks, it's go deeper more than that. So basically, thinking to kill an animal, encouraging to kill an animal, making others to kill an animal, and you're yourself attempting to do it and doing it, the completing the act. So all of that, those are prohibited. But unfortunately, things have changed, and I hope I won't get criticism for sharing this. But yeah, right now that's not the thing. Now, what people believe, um, I have encountered such people, is that okay? What our religion prohibits is killing of animals. So if we don't kill, and if we kill meat, if we eat meat from an animal that has already been killed by someone, then we are okay. We are good. That does not give us any sins. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they have come up with. And also, then there is one practice that I really detest that is unfortunately related to Buddhism in my country, that is using captive elephants in religious parades, which is
Hmm.
a real, like, it's a real, really conflict. It's a huge thing. But the surprising fact is Buddhism never endorsed it. There was no mentioning in Buddhist scripts where use elephants to take the tooth relics of Lord Buddha. That was never there. This was a tradition that was bought when this let me yeah so yeah there was when Buddhism was introduced to Sri Lanka back in 3rd century BC. There was a group of monks that arrived in our country, and there was one um, uh, apprentice who suggested that, among other preparations, come on the state elephant to obtain the relics of Lord Buddha. So he said this to the king at that time, who was King Devanampiyatissa, and this practice started from there. So this was not the monk saying, but it was just an apprentice. But ever since, it has been a practice, and now it has become a cultural practice. Plus, it has become a tourist attraction. So the elephants are treated really bad in those religious parades. It's horrible. They are forced to wear garments with light bulbs, and they are forced to walk for hours in the roads amidst drums and whip crackers and people and fire lamps and all of this. So it's been a very sensitive issue, because whenever a person tries to discuss this, it's like, okay, you are not a real Buddhist, so that's why you're challenging this. It comes to that extent.
Hmm.
But again, our future generation is starting to see that it's okay, it's not the real thing. And I have seen kindergarten students preparing elephants structures and using them in a mock religious parade, and which I think is really cute. And they see that, okay, these people, the mahouts or the caretakers of these elephants, are really treating them bad. So yeah, I mean, Buddhism is has always been compassionate. When I said that, five monks came to Sri Lanka from India, and that's how the whole religion was introduced to Sri Lanka. The sermon Rahat Mahinda said was, I'm going to quote, "O great king." So this is him telling this to the king Devanampiyatissa, who was on a hunting trip. He's
Hmm.
telling, "O great king, The birds of the air and the beasts have as equal a right to live and move about in any part of the land as though. The land belongs to the people, and all living beings, though, are only the guardian of it. So he's saying, you are, you as the king is the guardian of this land only, and the birds and the animals in this land have the right to live. So this is something that animal rights law is inventing now only, but in 3rd
Mm-hmm.
century BC it was already introduced to Sri Lanka.
Mm-hmm.
And right now everything's gone for a six. People have interpreted the religion according to their whims and fancies, and I think that's what has happened. I'm sorry about my dogs barking from the background.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. It adds to the flavor, I guess, to the conversation. Um, yeah, I mean, I certainly, I mean, all of these things that you're saying is so interesting to me. I'm embarrassed to admit that a lot of these realizations came much later in my life. You know, after my, 30s and 40s, I would say, and which is kind of very embarrassing late in life. In terms
No.
of how I treat animals, how I talk to them. My wife is a very compassionate human being towards animals in general, and she talks to our cat. We have one cat, um, as though he was a human, and now the phrase I'm saying, as though human, as though we are the pinnacle of existence and stuff like that, right? Like she tries to commune with him at a level which is almost equal, and there's a lot of learning that I've done as a result, like which is like trying to look at the nuance of emotions. And cats especially are quiet, they're not as vocal as dogs, and so they've got these subtle ways of communicating things. And my god, it's been quite a revelation for me, Dulki, that it's like, holy cow, I've been so ignorant for so
No,
long.
I would say that, better late than never. So
Right,
I
right.
think it's really nice that, you're talking about this. I mean, for us, every discussion that we engage in, every opportunity we get to, promote awareness and talk about this, that really means a lot. So I'm really happy that you are thinking about it, and
Oh yeah, for
you're
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm definitely committed to, if there are AI solutions that I could help out with, I will certainly work on it. I'm absolutely committed to all of this. I mean, AI is, I can't get enough of it. I'm just such a mad, like, fanatic of it. It's absolutely going to help out in these areas that were very hard to solve in the problem in the past. And so anyway, I'm very bullish about it. What is this World Animal Justice thing? What is this body? What does it entail? What is the mission here?
So, World Animal Justice is an NGO, and it's led by Dr. Sabine Brels. And I'm, of course, honored to be part of the team. We are trying to end animal crimes. That's basically it. And we are trying to recognize that crimes against animality to be recognized and prohibited in international law. So, quoting the words by my director, the initiator of WAJ. It's massive crimes against animality still legally happen every day worldwide. So we are basically targeting industrial farms, and existing laws are not enough to protect animal rights to live, be free, and well treated. And then we are requesting for a legal paradigm shift. And
Mm.
that's what World Animal Justice is all about.
Is this kind of
We
like the
are,
International Court of Justice in The Hague, the Netherlands, where it's kind of this central body?
no, no, no. It's not an institution. It's just an international
Sure.
non-profit NGO, and
Is the mission that towards that? I guess my question, I should have phrased it better. Is the mission to kind of head towards that paradigm where we actually try these cases at an international level?
yes, yes, that would be our ultimate goal. Yes.
Okay, that's cool. More power to you guys. I hope we could do that.
Thank you so much. And yeah, we are trying. I mean, every day we are trying something. Um, yeah, sometimes it's really frustrating. I mean, in my country, the things that I see today in the morning, I woke up to a news of two elephants being killed. They crashed to a train, and they passed away. So it's a struggle when you are
Yeah.
in this movement. You come across situations where you just end up questioning, okay, why am I even doing it? But yeah, and then you just pick up again yourself from there, and they're like, okay, let's just try one more day. But yeah, in Sri Lanka there are so many things that I wish I can do. um my country is small, but we
Hmm.
have so much of wildlife and so many animals. We have the elephant, we have the whale, and we have everything in between. And yeah, it's a challenge, but as long as you love doing it, I guess that's what keeps you going on, right?
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And the I think the more, like you said earlier, like the more we get exposed to their pain, their states of suffering, and the fact that they are sentient and they can experience all of these states of emotions and things like that. Like it becomes very abundantly clear to you, right? Like there's no denying that there's the lights are on in animals. They're as much, or if not more, aware than us in a lot of ways. We have the power of language, and I feel like at some level we have this hubris that, hey, well, we have language, we have culture, we have certain kinds of intelligence, but we ignore the other types of intelligence that animals have, for example, because we've
Yes.
prioritized this anthropocentric kind of mindset. And
Yes.
the more I think we get awakened to the fact that animals are like intelligent in so many different wide areas, it becomes hard to ignore those facts, right?
Yes, definitely. And yeah, promoting awareness plays the major role in all of these discussions because people are
Mm.
not aware of what happens inside those factory farms. I mean, if my friends who eat meat actually have the guts to go and see inside how they are slaughtered, how they are
Hmm.
treated, I'm pretty sure at least one of them will become vegan for sure.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It's
And
horrific. Some
and
of these places are horrific. Yeah.
yeah, and whatever contribution that can be made, that also matters. For example, now look at all these documentaries that people are making. Like they are
Mm.
touching those areas that were not touched before. And yes, I know it takes a lot of courage to take it to watch these documentaries
Right.
actually, but I mean, maybe we can do some recommendations and movie nights when we have get-togethers and talk about the real issues in the world rather than uh, you know just having fun. I mean, that's I think that's part of what we can do as well.
Yeah.
We had an international movie night back in Vietnam, when I attended the Asia Farm Animal Day this year. So it was really amazing. And there were actually four documentaries that they showed
Mhm.
us, but even I could see only the first two because the remaining two that they told us that if you're very sensitive about this, then you should not watch it. So yeah, I mean, whatever um contribution that can be made, that matters. And
Yeah.
of course people have to understand that there's always an option. As long as they are willing to take it up, as long as they are willing to accept it, there's always an option. Now 10 years ago, vegan leather was not a thing, but now look at what it's becoming, right? Now,
Yeah. From a practical standpoint, Dulki, what do you think? I mean, so there are lots of people who enjoy like eating a good steak, anywhere in the world. Like there are people who enjoy eating these things. Like from a very pragmatic approach, like let's say lab grown meat hasn't gotten there in a few years. It's not quite there. The texture is not equal to the real meat and so on. Can we say that there's at least a, like if you ate grass fed meat that clearly comes from a farm, that cows lived really well and then they were slaughtered really ethically. Is that at least an intermediate point along the kind of the continuum of ethics we can hit, like, from a pragmatic perspective? Because I don't think that a lot of people are going to change vegan overnight here, but just looking at, gory images of animal slaughter.
Yeah. So there is this question that we ask whenever someone asks us this question: how to slaughter an animal ethically?
Well, how would you say? Let me just play devil's advocate here. Let's say we'll go back to the hunting times. Let's say we you have to hunt your meat. You have to be part of the group of people that go hunt your meat, and then that is the meat you will consume and nothing more. So you can't just buy it off of a grocery shelf. It's not just some nicely packaged thing. I know I'm dreaming out here. I get it, but what I'm trying to say to you is that, can we engineer a system where we can at least get to some intermediate point in the meantime? Because it seems like there's a vast body of people, well, probably hundreds if not billions of people, that very much enjoy a good steak.
Yes, definitely. So that indeed is a fact, and I think as animal advocates, it's a fact that we have accepted. We have come into terms with that. We can't change everyone. But if you think of a world where animals are like, they can graze freely and they are, let's say, slaughtered humanely. So that is a different legal framework that is dealing with animal welfare, that deals with animal welfare, and not really animal rights, because in animal rights we are treating animals as sentient beings. We are respecting for their intrinsic value, and if we are eating them, if we are killing humanely, even if we are killing them humanely and eating them,
Hmm.
that's not really us treating them as, okay, they have this intrinsic value. We are
Okay.
not treating them like that. But if we have to come to middle ground,
Hmm.
um, veganism is not, where we force others to completely give up every animal product that they
Hmm.
eat. We are not forcing, I mean, at least me and the group that I am working with, we are not telling, okay, you have to give up cheese and butter and everything and you have to become like complete vegan. But it's not that. As vegans, you could give up one animal item. If you can give it up for 1 week, that then it would still matter. If you can give it up
Okay.
at least for 1 month, then it would matter. So whatever you can do by reducing the consumption of animal products, that is going to contribute to the movement of veganism. And
Okay.
maybe one day they will understand that, okay, now I can give it up,
Yeah, I can live without
completely.
it. Yeah.
Yes. So you don't have to start with, okay, I'm just going to stop. No, it doesn't have to be like that, and we are not asking for that either, because it's
Okay.
definitely impossible. For me, I had only ate chicken, and I stopped eating chicken um in 2010 or something. So that it took even me that time. So, and nobody's judging me for that. and
Mm.
and after that, step by step, I gave up everything else, and now I can proudly say that I'm a vegan. And
Mm.
still sometimes there are situations, especially when you're, so I'm really fortunate that my country's cooking um is based on coconut milk, right? All of our
Hmm.
curries are cooked in coconut oil, coconut milk. But this could not be the same for Indians, because their base is ghee. So for them to become vegan will be more challenging than it is for me. And it has to be, yeah, like, you find alternatives, you figure it out, you speak to the people who are there, because there are so many people that are willing to help you when you, if you really want to make a change. I've seen thousands of Instagram pages that only cook vegan meals. So like it was not there 10 years ago, but now
Okay.
there are meals that we can really cook. So I mean, yeah, it's just it's definitely not going to be an overnight change, but step by step, as long as you're willing to give up something for a duration, and then you can keep on doing it. I'm pretty sure we can reach somewhere.
Yeah, I like the idea that these things can be done in, like, it's not a hardline stance. It's more like even if you give up this for this time or give it up for the rest of your life, this small thing, you're contributing to the movement. You're not,
Yeah.
this is not a hard line, black or white. Let's all kind of take on little bits here and there, whatever we can,
Yes.
either from a nutritional standpoint or from a taste standpoint. If we can, find substitutes and so on, like you said, then we're making progress. That's the key underlining factor. And the other thing, a shout out to coconut milk, man. I mean, there's nothing that comes close to it. Come on.
I am blessed.
The
I
food that
keep
you
on
can make
telling.
with,
So
yeah,
when,
I mean, your Sri
yeah,
Lankan food is bomb, is like amazing. I freaking love
thank
it,
you
by the way.
so much.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. So yeah, I when I am outside, so when I travel, I face so much difficulties in finding food, because I'm so used to homemade food.
Right,
That I trust. Like, okay, this is completely vegan. I know that, but then in other countries, they could be using some sauces. I don't know whether they are vegan. So that that challenge is always there. So if you think that, oh my god, I'm a pure vegan, I cannot take any animal product, then it's gonna make your life harder,
right.
and the lives of the people who are cooking for you, your friends, like everyone's life's gonna get harder. So hats off to pure vegans, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be strict. As long as you can give up something, that's what matters.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, Dulki, I know I've taken about more than an hour of your time. I appreciate your time so much. This is always enlightening, and more power to you guys to doing what you're doing. I will absolutely amplify your voice the best way I can. Um, God bless. I really appreciate what you do, Dulki. You're like
Thank you
you're like
so much.
humanity. You're like humanity's conscience, kind of bearing on all of us.
No, thank you so much. And yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. It means a lot.
Absolutely, it's an
Uh,
honor to have you on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, I mean, let's be in touch and try our
Yes.
best to help at least one animal per year.
Yeah. Well, from my perspective, of course, I'll help out with animals and stuff. Like, if there's any technical solutions you can think of that you think you need, like AI solutions, you can, like, you thought of this thing, we can do this thing. I will definitely give it a crack. There's so many things that I use AI for, which I never thought about a year ago that I'd be able to achieve. And now it's like I'm noticing it firsthand, like these things I can build with relative ease, and I'm like, okay, I can help. I can do these things. I have agency now. I can actually, affect change from a very one person standpoint. I don't need a team of people anymore. I just have to have a good idea, and I just have to try and execute it. So I'm actually in the process of making my own AI company, AI based startup. So I'm going all in, Dulki, on this. I'm just going all in. I love this stuff anyway. So
Thank you so
let
much
me
and
know
all the
what
best.
ideas you have, and I absolutely want to be plugged into this community, and I want to contribute for sure.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I mean, the more people we have representing all fields, the better it's going to be.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. We'll talk
You
soon.
too. Thank you so much. Bye bye.